Warp is easily the most broken mobility power in Icarus Uprising. The game's description doesn't do this power justice at all. This power is basically the get out of jail free card. There are very few scenarios where you can't warp at all, so let me cover all the ones I know. First up is when you're afflicted with tempura or eggplant status. Next up is some items such as Circle Trap and Chomp Trap. You'll be stuck in these items for the full duration, but in the case of the Circle Trap, you'll still be able to dodge, so this item still sucks for the most part. And next up is Interference. This is a power that's supposed to block power usage for anyone within range. I'm just going to have to give this a half point because if you're dodging, you get iframes that allow you to use powers for a brief moment. So while it's not a perfect counter for warp, Interference can still be somewhat useful. For our next warpless scenario, we have a stage-specific one. On Rail Temple, if you get on the grind rails, you won't be able to use warp at all until you get off of them. This makes dodging near the start of a rail a bad idea compared to just warping out of the danger. Moving on, we have a bunch of game mechanics that block power usage in general. So if you're tired from draining all your stamina, you won't be able to warp until someone smacks you out of it, or until you regain stamina after a few seconds. And next is what I like to call the wall bonk. This is a special animation that happens when you run directly into a wall. Your fighter is going to bounce off the wall, and during this animation you can't do anything at all until you fully recover from it. And lastly, you can't use any powers at all during a pickup animation. It's a very brief moment before you can actually do anything out of this, but it is still a long enough time for someone to sneak a shot in. And since we're on items, doing a neutral throw will also leave you unable to use powers for a small moment too. I'd also like to give an honorable mention to not being able to warp when you're dead, but honestly I'm pretty sure I've died and hit warp in the same instance before, but normally you can't warp during that. Everything else besides that, it's pretty much free game. In end lag, warp. In startup lag, warp. Getting comboed, warp. Falling off the map, warp. Frozen, warp. Subscribe for more Icarus content.